Okay, hello everyone. I was wanting to get you through the first few steps of the Canyon Trail Tours project. The first part of the project for part one, or step one, is we're going to be saving the file as the Canyon Trails Tours, and then also applying a theme. So as we remember from other projects, to apply a theme, we go to page layout, and then click themes, and then the theme we're looking for is Berlin, and the theme's now been applied. The other thing is we're going to format the table as format the spreadsheet as a table. So we're going to highlight the top row and then all the way down, and we're going to just click on that and go to the Home tab and format as table. And I think that the table style light 14 is the one that we're going to be doing. This verifies that this is the data field that we're going to be turning into a table, and my table has headers, should be checked because it has headings. And you click OK, and now it's been tableized, or tabular format now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go up to the top here under the table name and change the table name to July list, because the data is from the month of July. So we've now named the table July list, and every time there's a reference to the table, it will have the July list as the name. There's a couple housekeeping things we're going to be doing on columns D, and I'm going to hit the control key in column I. We're going to wrap the header text. So we're going to go to Home, and then we're going to hit Wrap Text, and then we're going to change these, because I still have them highlighted. Let's make sure I got them highlighted. Make sure I did that right. Wrap text, and we're going to change the width. I'm just grabbing it here and just going to knock them both down because I have them all situated. Looks like it didn't do what I wanted to do, so I'm going to grab them again and wrap text. There we go. Got them to go double. I guess I had to double click it to get there. Next step we're going to do is we're going to go into this cell, which is J2, and we're going to make a formula that multiplies what is in cell C2 by what is in cell I2. So we're going to go equal sign, and then we're going to go C2, and then we're going to hit the multiply sign, which is above the 8, and I2, and hit enter, and now we've got calculation for, because this is tabular, it will copy because this table is tabular, it will copy down the formula. Older spreadsheets, older Excel spreadsheets may not do that in tabular form, but the newer ones will for 2013, 2016. It should populate all for you. The next step is to grab the per person cost and total cost and go up and change the number format to accounting. That way we have some dollar signs in front of our numbers. The next steps we're going to be doing is we're going to click on cell 11, or L6, and we're going to enter the texts as indicated in the image below. So, okay, I've entered the text, and now what we'll do is we're going to merge that cell. I'm going to go to the alignment, hit merge. That way it puts statistics there. We're formatting that to be bold and also 16 font. So we're going to change that. And now we're going to change the colors in this column here. So the shading is going to come over here, and we're going to go 60% lighter. And the next one will be purple 60% lighter, and the next one will be green 60% lighter, and it's just that easy. And then the last one, we're also going to bold these, make it just a little wider. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to calculate the total in this column. So we're going to hit the equal sign and type sum, followed by an open bracket or open parenthesis, and we're going to highlight the whole cell or column. We're going to hit the enter key, and now we've got a total. And you'll see the formula up here in the formula bar. We're going to change this to accounting, and your total should look like mine. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to count the number of guests. So we're going to hit the equal sign, hit sum, and we're going to count the number of guests that we have. And hit enter, and should come up with 109. This time we're going to, for the number of groups, first what we're going to do is go up to our formula bar and click the formula so we can choose from the function, and we're going to hit count A. Okay. And what I can do is basically what I'm wanting to do is count how many records I have. I can choose either the first name or the last name. In this case, I'm going to actually choose the first name column. Just as easily, I can choose the other one. And we've got that. And I hit OK. So I've got the count of how many first name entries there are. I'm going to hit OK. It says that the result down here, it says that there's a result of 50, which is correct. There are 50 records. And that gives me the count, or count A, of the number of records. In this next column, what I want to do, I want to count the number of guests that are age 60 and over. So that means that I'm going to have a logic statement or an if statement. So again, I'm going to go up to my formulas, and I'm going to count if. Instead of count A this time, I'm going to hit count if. And the range that I'm looking for, I'm going to click this button, which will give me the option to go to my average age. I'm going to select this range and click that and go back. The criteria is going to have a little bit of logic in there. I'm going to say that the range needs to be greater than or equal to 60 in the criteria, and that will give me the number of 17. The next field that we're looking for is the percentage of guests over 60. Since we already know how many guests we have, and we know how many guests that are age 60 and over, what we'll do basically is a simple equation and hit the equal sign. We're going to click the number of guests that we have, and we're going to divide that by, or number of guests over 60, and divide that by number of guests total, and that will give us 34.34. Now, 0.34 is nice and it's a good number, but what we want to do is we want to change that to percentage. And now we know that 34% are age 60 and over. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a pivot table. First thing we're going to do is I'm going to click in cell A2, and that's just so I can establish that when I go to the pivot table option, it's going to select the current data that's in the sheet. Sometimes you don't have to do this, but it's just a precaution. This way, this particular method works for all versions that are 2013 and above. And so next thing I'm going to do is hit the Insert tab, and I'm going to click Pivot Table. Now, when it first comes up, the table range is the July list. If it doesn't come up with this in your Create Pivot Table dialog box, you need to type that in there, or click this button, which will take you out to the sheet, and you click or highlight the whole data area. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to click Existing Worksheet, and then the location that you're going to put the pivot table in is K8, which is right here. And then you're going to, it says add this data to data model, and you click OK. It'll think for a moment, and then up will come the pivot tables fields area. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take today's and put it down here in the row. See, I'm actually holding my left mouse button and dragging that down to the rows. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the average age, and we're going to bring and drag that down to the values. Now it says it's the sum of average age. I actually want the count. So I'm going to click this little arrow on the side and go to Value Field Settings. I'm going to change that setting to Count. That way it'll count the average age. Count of the average age. Now you'll notice that there is on the rows labels it's 3, 5, and 7. Now what I want to do is I want to go up and I want to actually chart this data. So I'm going to go up to my pivot chart. It's up here. Now again, you have to be in the pivot table in order to have the pivot table tools. It's the Analyze tab and then your Create Pivot Chart. We're choosing a column chart. And we're clicking OK. Now it's rather big, and I like to work with them when they're big at this point. The first thing I want to do is get rid of these numbers or these buttons. So I'm just going to hide them, and I'm going to get rid of the total, and I'm going to change the total to number, acting a little slow today, of tours by duration. And once I change the size of this table, it'll shrink it down. And I'm not a fan of grid lines. You can leave them if you want, but we're going to take them out here, and we're going to take that out. And next thing I want to do is widen these columns out a little bit. So I'm going to click on the columns, go over to the data width, and I'm going to type in 25 to widen those out. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Add Elements button, and I'm going to click on the Access Titles box, and I'm going to change that to days. I'm going to change this one to number of tours. I'm going to bring this one all the way over here. Now I'm going to take the chart, I'm going to drag it over here and size it. I'm going to close this out and size this to be about that size. Maybe a little wider. We've just now created a pivot chart from a pivot table. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to filter this data, and what we're going to do is filter it by age. I kind of want to take a look at what we have for people who are over 60. So I'm going to click the filter button, go up to numbers here, number filters, and I'm going to click greater than or equal to and type in 60 in that field and click OK. That reduces our information down. Of course, it messes up our graph over here, our chart over here, but we can fix that later. And now what I want to do is I want to make sure all this range is selected, hit the Home tab, hit the Copy button, go to the Analyze tab, and I'm just going to hit Control V, which pastes that information in there. And you could also hit just the paste button as well. I'll widen this out. With the data selected still, you want to hit the Subtotal button. Make sure that it is in each changed by tour state, that it's by sum, and then total cost. Click OK, and widen out that field. Now what you've done is subtotaled the calculations by the amount spent on each tour by guests over 60. And that's it for step 4. In the next step, you're going to go back to the List tab and remove the filter and work on a pivot table from there.